Millions of Nigerian households pay over half their income on housing, and hundreds of thousands more have no home at all. Access to decent, affordable housing will provide critical stability for these families and lower the risk that vulnerable families become homeless. High housing costs leave low-income families with little left over for other important expenses. Affordable housing increases the amount that families can put towards other important household needs and savings for the future. That is why on this program I preach affordable and accessible housing for all, especially the low-income earners. I am your housing diva, Flora Annie. Welcome to another eye-opening episode of Housing Development. The news making rounds in the sector is up next.
The Minister of State for Works and Housing, Muazu Jaji Sambo, has said the use of incompetent artisans in the real estate sector is among the factors leading to building collapse in the country. The minister, in a statement by the Director of Press and Public Relations of the Ministry, Boade Akinola, during a visit by members of the Construction Skills Training and Empowerment Project, CSTEMP, described the construction industry as a large employer of labor that would employ more Nigerians if the requisite skills are learnt, stating that one of the reasons for building collapse in this country is attributable to the prevalence of the use of unskilled artisans. He praised the effort of CSTEMP in coming up with an initiative to fill what he described as a huge gap in the built environment and pledged to support them. As Lagos seeks Supreme Court's judgment interpretation, there appears to be no hope in the sight for the Shangisha Landlords Association in their attempt to get their properties back, as Lagos State government has sought further directives and clarifications from the Supreme Court's judgment. The landlords, worried by the government's inertia in returning 549 plots of lands allegedly taken from them in the Magodo area, had approached the court to seek redress both at the State High Court, the Court of Appeal, and at the Supreme Court, where the state further appealed and judgment subsequently awarded in their favor in 2012. The association has also petitioned President Muhammadu Buhari on the matter. According to them, the discontinuation of the settlement process indefinitely by the Lagos State government is nothing but an attempt to legitimize corruption, urging the president to call the Lagos State government to order to avoid any deceitful action. Vice President Yemi Oshibajo has said that the federal government is focusing on a new vision for strengthening infrastructural development, especially with rapid urbanization, pressure on cities, and the difficulties of allocating scarce resources faced by governments at all levels. Oshibajo stated this in Bayelsa at the construction flag-off of the Angiama-Okporoma Bridge on the Yenagwa-Okporoma-Ukubie Road recently. According to him, the Niger Delta communities such as Okporoma, Angiama, where the bridge is now being constructed, and others across the region are home to vast amounts of mineral wealth and natural resources, so they deserve to have considerable development gains to show for it. As part of the new vision, the federal government will collaborate with state governments to strengthen efforts at ensuring the wholesome development of communities across the country.
For more housing, finance, and construction news, do well to visit www.africahousingnews.com. Nigeria Mortgage Refinance Company was set up to bridge the funding costs of residential mortgages and promote the availability as well as affordability of good housing to Nigerians by providing increased liquidity in the mortgage market through the Mortgage and Commercial Bank. However, the Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Company delivered on its mandate under the leadership of Kende Ogundemu, the managing director. Kende Ogundemu will give us details.
Before we came in, before NMRC was birthed, the major challenge then was that there wasn't that long-term finance to actually be used to create mortgages that are long-term. What we had then before NMRC were things that were just for a few years. You get money for 5 years or at best 7 years, and and the rates were exorbitant. So our primary goal was to ensure that we provide that long-term funding so that financial institutions, both the primary mortgage banks and commercial banks, will have access and solve that problem of mismatch between the assets and the liabilities. And the next thing was to also ensure that we get this at very reasonable rates, rates that are very competitive, but that ultimately lessens the burden on the mortgagor, the ultimate payer of the interest on the mortgages. I can say that we have solved the problem of availability. So every bank in Nigeria now has access to long-term funding, because of NMRC. To specifically in the last 2 years, we have made funding available to many more institutions who in the past couldn't interact with us because we are limited by regulations from interacting with such institutions. So maybe I'll put that in context. When we were created, we have a framework by the Central Bank of Nigeria, and that framework at that time, which was, to all intents and purposes, the intention was good, restricted us to just refinancing only institutions that had access or that had investment in NMRC. But over time, we realized that the funding out there is available for as many institutions as possible. So it wasn't going to disadvantage those who were shareholders of NMRC. And our regulator, the central bank, saw our reasoning and now made it open so that every bank that meets our criteria will be refinanced. And so in the last 2 years, we have refinanced institutions like First Generation Mortgage Bank in Abuja, Union Bank of Nigeria. We have recently done Wema Bank, we have done Echo Bank. So we keep doing all these institutions in addition to other traditional institutions that we have been working with, like the mortgage banks, Stanbic IBTC and all of that. But I think what gladdens our heart the most is that in the last 2 years, we've also gained a lot of traction in the model mortgage and foreclosure law. Most states have passed it, or most states are in the process of passing it. So before now, we just had Kaduna and Lagos, but last year and the year before, we had Nasarawa, we had Ekiti, we had Ogun. Edo is at a very advanced stage, it's gone through a House of Assembly. We're in engagement with Kano, we're in engagement with Kwara. In fact, we'll be visiting Kwara very soon. We're in engagement with other states. So we see a lot of traction because without the underlying legal foundation, you cannot really have a thriving mortgage market in any place in the world. So I would say, in addition to providing liquidity, we have also been solving the problem of the legal aspect. We have also been looking at other things. We got the World Bank to sponsor us to do what is called electronic mortgage asset registry, because we believe that, so the feasibility study has been done and we're now in the process of trying to see, to phase out the implementation. What essentially that is going to do is to dematerialize title and land documentation in Nigeria. You see now when people buy shares in Nigeria, you just go to CSCS, you get your number, you're able to transfer the shares and do that. We believe that one of the things that we need is to ensure that there is that velocity of share transfer and transactional efficiencies, and so we'll be working on that. We're also working on the Nigeria Mortgage Guarantee Company, which is to help first-time home buyers who will, before now or until now, will not be able to get onto the mortgage ladder because of the 20% equity down payments. This in addition to a few and many other things that we are doing. Every year we have been training artisans to not only empower them to be economically productive, but to also serve as a fuel to the industry. So every year we train people on how to do POP, electrical works, and they're certified. We look for jobs for them. We ensure that they get into the market. So we're not only just empowering them, we're also providing those who will be able to also sustain the growth of the industry. So I would say we have also, because of NMRC, in addition to solving the liquidity problem, which is now there's access, we have also seen significant drop, up to almost 700 basis point drop in mortgage interest rate. It's not where we need to be, but we have, because of what we are doing, and not just us, all stakeholders, FMBN, central bank, and everybody. You'll see that in the past, people will get mortgage and they say the interest rate is about 20 something, and it was between 18 to 25%. But we see that has significantly come down. It's not where it should be, but now mortgages are between 13 and maybe maximum of 17 or 18%. But we still want it to get to sub 10, and we're working on a few things just to make sure we arrive at that sweet spot where everything comes together.
The managing director of Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Company there, Kende Ogundemu. Now, how long does it take for NMRC to refinance mortgages, and what challenges do they encounter in the course of delivery on their mandates? Let's find out.
I'll say for us at NMRC, if everything is in place, all our expectations are met, we'll refinance within 48 hours. Money will leave our desk to the bank within 48 hours. If all the T's have been crossed and the I's have been dotted. We're very fast at processing. Time is money. The longer we delay them in getting the funds, the more expensive it becomes for the ultimate beneficiary, which is the mortgagor. So as an institution, we send out money quickly. But the biggest challenge for the sector is the cost of financing. Mortgages will only thrive in an environment where rates are 10 or below. So we have to address the macro issues such that we're able to go to the market and borrow money at substantially below 10% interest rate. Because affordability is a function of how much the person has and how much the person is going to pay and what does the house cost. So I think the biggest challenge that we have, in the industry, not just NMRC, but the biggest challenge even for NMRC is the cost of funding. All the pension funds, when they look at us and look at what we are doing, they don't see any difference between us, who is doing a very laudable job of trying to provide housing for our people, and just putting their money in government bonds, which will give them substantial rates. So except rates come down significantly, that's when we'll have that luxury of saying that, yes, we're almost at El Dorado, So rate is the biggest challenge, followed also by the challenges with passing the model mortgage and foreclosure law by all the states and putting in place the systems and processes to ensure quick, cheap, and efficient registration and transfer of titles. So I think if we can solve the biggest one, which is the interest rate, that's a macro thing. We can only try, we can't do anything about that. So it's something that the government can work on, And then, but I think the one on the legal documentation, the legal foundation, that can be done by the state governments and even the federal government. So if we can solve those twin problems, I think everyone on this platform will be happy, because things will start happening at a very much more rapid rate than we can ever imagine.
Welcome back. The program is Housing Development. Paying the rent for a decent home is not just a challenge for low-income families, as housing affordability increasingly creates stress on middle-income families. While we talk of housing affordability, we still emphasize on decent housing. The capital city, Abuja, is a city of many different parts. Which area in Abuja would you never want to live in? Let's find out the opinion of some Abuja residents on Voices on the Street.
Okay, I currently stay at Nyanya, and in my next world, I don't want to stay there because of the traffic. When I come to town every day, when I'm about to go home, I will start thinking about the fact that, I'll have to face traffic because of people living at Nasarawa and all of that. So at any point in time, I will not want to live there anymore.
The way Abuja is structured, outside the center, which is a municipal, other suburbs, they don't really have a good setting for human habitation, especially in Nyanya. The road network there is just one road to the town, and the traffic jam is so much intimidating. At times, a trailer will be in the queue with small cars, highly inflammable loaded tanker, and it's not healthy. A lot of accidents towards Kubo, and some people feel that it's a demon living out there, but to me, it's a land topography and lack of management of trucks, heavy trucks, drunk drivers, accompanying small cars. So, Nyanya area, I don't want to live there.
The area I would never like to stay. A area like Kubwa, because it's a bit far from my working place. I don't like staying far from where I work. And again, due to the express road there, I'm the type that one of my fears is moving vehicles. So I don't like staying in a place where I find it very difficult to access a movable vehicle before coming to the working place. That is why.
Inside the Kuje area, there's this part in Kubwa, they drink Buhari area council, and those in Tape side, there are very many, just almost the surrounding areas. It appears that they have, this government, in fact, they don't live within the vicinity of this federal capital territory.
I would never want to live in Maraba because of the hold-up and the thief around that area. There is no way you can drive around. A lot of people testify to it that takes at the cost of them receiving call inside the vehicle, their phone being snatched off from their hands. So because of that, I have this little fight concerning thieves. So, and anything thieves in nature, I don't like that, because your family can be kept out and your property can be given. Your hard-earned money, you cannot have access to it just due to the threats. So Maraba is the kind of a dead zone that I don't like to live in.
I would never want to live in Maraba because of the hold-up. The hold-up is too much, and I don't think it's worth the stress and stuff like that.
There are a whole lot of bad areas in Abuja. I've seen some, but the place I would not like to stay is that Asokoro village, because there is a place worse than that. But why don't you stay that place? You don't have water, the road are bad, and it's really terrible. They should just have to remove the Asokoro there, maybe call it Pure Village.
I would like to live in Gwagwalada area. Due to there's always traffic problem in those areas. I would like to live in such an area.
Voices on the street there, where I had places like Kubwa, Gwagwalada, Pape, Asokoro Village, Nyanya, and some even mentioned Mararaba. Well, Mararaba is a town in Nasarawa State, central Nigeria. It is a district of the Karo local government area. It is definitely different strokes for different folks. Let's go for a short break. I'll be back.
What you think, what you wish, what you dream, we can give you home, your office, anywhere.
At Urban Shelter Limited, we are committed to your satisfaction in terms of good housing construction, infrastructure, flexible payment plans, and that's not all. We uphold affordability, reliability, quality, and innovation. Urban Shelter, distinctive homes, prestigious offices.
Welcome back. The program is Housing Development. Africa's largest housing conference and exhibition, Abuja International Housing Show, will be hosting its 16th edition come July 25th to 28th, 2022 at the International Conference Center, Abuja, Nigeria. One event that has provided positive solutions to the housing sector growth in Nigeria is the Abuja International Housing Show. Abuja International Housing Show, the largest home expo in Africa, is dedicated to ensuring safe, decent and affordable housing for all Nigerians. They have been promoting housing affordability for all since 2006. The 16th Abuja International Housing Show 2022 will convene policymakers, operators, regulators and advocates to explore policy solutions to address housing's most pressing challenges. This year's speakers include both nationally and internationally recognized housing, finance and community development experts. Abuja International Housing Show offers housing professionals and leaders the guidance and inspiration they need to shape the future of social housing and deliver for residents and communities. Now here are what you must know about Abuja International Housing Show. Welcome back. For more details on the 16th AIHS, visit www.ihsabuja.com. Up next is our Woman Crush Wednesday. Let's see who deserves to be crowned our Woman Crush.
Introducing our Woman Crush this Wednesday. Leading on the list is Deborah F. She is the Managing Director of Housing Real Estate Project Finance, United States International Development Finance Corporation, formerly OPIC. She leads a team of finance officers in developing, underwriting, closing debts, and to guarantee facilities in emerging markets with worldwide responsibility for business development in the real estate sector, housing finance, and mortgage finance sector. Deborah was the president of Society's International Institute for Real Estate Finance for a period of 4 years, initially funded by the Mortgage Bankers Association of America to support research, technical assistance, and training in best practices of mortgage finance around the world. She was also the Senior Director, International Mortgage Bankers Association from 1994 to 1999, Washington, D.C., where she facilitated the engagement of U.S. mortgage bankers with their counterparts around the world, hosting foreign delegations, staffing the International Committee, developed and conducted training programs overseas, planned and managed international conferences and trade missions, in collaboration with counterpart associations and institutions around the world on best practices and information exchange. Deborah Ebb attended Bethany College and George Mason University with a BA in International Business Communications, further obtaining a master's degree in Public Administration, International Non-Profit Management. Having supported in the project development with DC Habitat for Humanity 25th anniversary from 2014 to date, where she celebrated and supported DC Habitat for Humanity in providing housing for veterans, net zero energy efficient housing in Ivy City and Southeast DC and in Nicaragua, of which she is a member of the board of directors. With over 20 years direct experience in mortgage lending in the United States, plus 12 years of international housing finance experience, she has been in top gear as an advocate for affordable housing globally. With recognition of her presence, speaking profoundly at the 13th annual Abuja International Housing Show in 2019, where she received an award of excellence in global housing finance in honor of her advocacy for affordable housing in Nigeria. Debbie, in her erudite personality and capacity is responsible for program development, investor development, marketing, as well as credit structuring and analysis for housing and other real estate sector projects, and amazing housing solutioning. With all these achievements and giant strides in the housing sector, Deborah F. has been chosen as our Woman Crush this Wednesday.
If you'd like to feature any individual that is doing exceptionally well in the real estate sector, send an email via housingprogram@AIT@gmail.com. Our Woman Crush Wednesday segment is also open for sponsorship. You can reach us to 081 665 70090. That is it on today's episode of Housing Development. I've got to get going, but be sure there is always more on housing development. So keep a date, same time. Until then, stay safe. I remain Flora Ani, your housing diva.